Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome back to the Onyx Tavern vlog series on ToQger. Today we will be discussing Station 8, which is entitled Rainbow Line's Great Explosion. Not that that happens in the episode, but that's what they call it. So this episode picks up where Station 7 left off. Primarily they are searching for the diesel Ressha in this episode, and they happen to go ahead and find it and add it to their arsenal. But a little bit more than that happens along the way. And there are a number of things about this episode that I just find kind of infuriating that I want to go ahead and discuss with you guys and talk about the logic or, again, lack thereof this episode has. First of all, I will point out that we don't really learn anything new about the characters in this episode. There isn't anything like that going on because it's an action plot, so we're focused mainly on the action. And of course, all the Rangers are busy doing different things. And of course, the Red Ranger is the one who's finding the new Zord because he's the Red Ranger, therefore he has to. We do get a little bit more on our villains, particularly that the Emperor of Darkness is going to be coming soon, so he may be appearing in a couple more episodes down the line here. Although, I don't know how long they're going to drag that out. I mean, every time like some new villain or somebody shows up, they tend to drag it out for a while. I mean, they drag out how long it would be until Messiah actually showed up for a while in Go Buster. So, we'll see what they do here. The first thing I'm going to go ahead and mention that was a little bit confusing me. So, the Rainbow Line had picked up the diesel on its sensors and it was going to look for it in a general area. Well, they couldn't find the signal directly, so the ToQgers have to go about and ask children if they had seen the train. Now, I find this a little bit odd. Now, the reasoning is that they don't ask adults because adults can't see the Rainbow Line. They can't see the Ressha. Which is a curious question, and I brought this up in a previous video. If they can't see it, then they know there are giant robot battles happening in the city, or is that all invisible to them? That's actually something that is not addressed in any episode to this point, and I hope they do address it somewhere down the line. But being again, it was well established that children can see the Rainbow Line. They were hoping kids would go ahead and see it, and they would be able to direct the ToQgers to it. The problem I have with this, other than Zakati trying to ask a baby, okay, whatever, is that they're going to ask the children if they see a train, but first of all, it's Japan, so there are trains all over the place. How do they know it's a specific train that they're looking for? They just ask if you've seen the diesel line. Okay, what does that mean to a child exactly? Now, granted, when Wright asks the right group of children, they say, yeah, we see it, but our parents can't see it. Okay, that's a hint, but you're not going to go to a child and say, hey kid, we're looking for a train that only children can see. Do you happen to see the invisible train anywhere? I thought that while it was intelligent, that would be the way they would go. Like, okay, children would see it, and they might visually be able to pick it out for us. If they detected it using their sensors, why couldn't they do something with the sensors to actually find its exact location? Yes, Ticket said that it went off their sensor, so it's weak on power, but still, you should be able to kind of narrow down the search instead of just having them go all around the city, around the park, asking random children, which is something that will not happen in the American retelling. I don't care how you are, any group of adults that goes and asks a bunch of children questions, yeah, that's not going to be adapted very well. Excuse me. So let me go ahead and talk about the plot with Wright. In particular, that he finds the Diesel-O. Now, Diesel-O has been in a museum, technically outside the museum, on the tracks, and invisible to everyone but children. Now, first of all, it's been indicated it's been there a long, long time, and it's the oldest of the Ressha. Now, there's a number of issues with that. First of all, if it is if it's the oldest Ressha there, and it's been at the museum, the question becomes, how long has it been at that museum? Okay, so let's say that museum was built right around when trains were coming into Japan, which was like the late 19th century, and I doubt that that's particularly the case. Then are we indicating that the Diesel O is resting there, and thus it's been there since the museum has been around? And the museum, which is described as a children's museum, does have exhibits of trains, but only pictures. So where does that track actually lead? Does it actually lead into the museum? Because it says it's part of the museum. So does it have an old train yard attached to it? Or was there actually supposed to be a display train there? And again, if we determine how old the museum is and how long Diesel O has been there, we can determine how long the Reshas have been in existence and have been around, which I doubt they've been there since trains have been in existence, which was the 19th century. Now, the fact that it's a diesel train kind of indicates to me its age as well. First of all, I don't know why it's called a diesel, the diesel Ressha, simply because diesel is in reference to the fuel that it runs on, diesel fuel. We've established with the tank Ressha that it's obviously not diesel fuel because it glows blue, it's some sort of energy. So why is it named after a fuel source that the Rainbow Line doesn't use? Unless you're to indicate to me that it's still running on diesel, that's so old that it doesn't have the capacity to run on the new fuel, and if that is the case, how long has it been sitting there with fuel in there? One of the biggest questions about Back to the Future 3 is, why does Marty use the fuel in the DeLorean? Well, two things. One, if you leave fuel in there, it's going to rot out the insides or it's going to evaporate, which is exactly what's going on here with the Diesel O. It can't have any actual diesel fuel in there. Its power source has to be something other than diesel, and I'll get into why here in a second. So I don't know why it's called a Diesel O if it's not actually running on diesel fuel. Yes, it's designed like a diesel engine, but I'm sure those have names, specific names to which you call the designs. I mean, not every train that runs on diesel, I mean, the cars are probably manufactured some model serial number or something like that. So why isn't it referred to that? I just find it odd that you're referring to a train that runs on a fuel source that probably doesn't. That doesn't make much sense. So again, how long has it been there in relation to how long has that track been there, how long has that museum been there, because that gives us an indication of how long the Ressha had been there. And of course there are spider webs, but spider webs and dirt, that can really indicate anything. But my question is, has it been there for years, decades, a century? I mean, none of the Rainbow Line logic, or excuse me, the timeline and its origins have yet to be explained, but this adds to the mystery and gives us kind of a good sense that, you know, say that museum was built in the 1940s or something, then we know that the diesel has been there probably since the 1940s, something like that. I'm not saying it exactly is, but we could extrapolate at least how old it is based on that evidence, which we don't get right here. Now, when Wright gets in it, he tries to activate the Diesel O, which, okay, he gets in it. I'm not sure how he gets in it, because we've established that there's a security protocol, and this thing is powered down, so anybody's able to get in, which is kind of the scary thing here. And here's the weird thing. He can't get to activate, so what does he do? He cleans the cockpit out. That's the first thing he does. Tries it, doesn't work. He gets out and speaks encouragement to it, gets back in, speaks more encouragement, and then it actually activates. That is the equivalent of going to a junkyard, finding an old car whose fuel is no longer in it, and starting the ignition up. Doesn't work. You clean your front seat of the car, and it doesn't work, and then you talk to it, and then turn it on, and it finally works. That's exactly what he has done here. And there's indication by the end of the episode that once the battle's over, the Diesel O returned to the museum, indicating that it might be sentient. Well, at the last episode, we did get this kind of look of it where, you know, it lights up and it looks like it has eyes, but I didn't think that was to indicate that the damn thing was alive. And if the Diesel O is alive, does that mean that the other Ressha are alive too, and not running off some sort of computer program, but either A, they're some sort of artificial intelligence, or they are actually a sentient life form of some kind. Well, why is the Diesel introduced with that concept? Why not the other trains? We haven't seen that to this point. And what's going to be the significance of it being alive? I really don't understand why a little encouragement from a human that's less than half the age of the Diesel, or excuse me, Diesel Ressha, is actually going to respond to that and a good scrubbing of its cockpit. That doesn't make any sense to me as to why. I mean, the Diesel is a real mystery here. All we know is it's the oldest. We don't know what fuel it runs on. We don't know if it's alive or not, although it may be alive. I don't understand what Wright thought cleaning it would be helpful and talking to it would be helpful. Wouldn't the thing to do, since we've already established a couple of episodes previously the tank Ressha, why didn't he just call the tank Ressha to the location to fuel up? Further, at that point, he didn't know the whole bomb situation, which I'm going to get into, that was going on with the other Rangers. So why didn't he immediately call and say, hey, I found it, come here, it's not working, or call the Rangers, come explore it with him? I mean, that seems to be logical, that seems to be perfect sense, that you call the others and say, hey, I found it, I can't get to work, you guys can help me. And then, maybe Ticket would have given some sort of BS on talking to it or something like that. So that whole thing was kind of bogus. I didn't really understand that. Now, the bigger issue is, okay, so when they defeat the bomb monster, they run into this black smoke. And in the black smoke, the bomb monster, in a miniaturized form, is able to get on with two smaller bombs with him. I call bullshit on this, because we've already established in previous episodes the only way to get onto the Rainbow Line is to have a Rainbow Pass, that there are security precautions in place to prevent them from getting on. We did an entire episode on this with ToQger where he lost his pass and he couldn't get on. It was established in the first episode when Wright first found out about it. And this episode even shows them going through the gate using their passes to get on. So what is the point of the security system to keep the villains off without a Rainbow Pass if they can easily slip through the system? I don't get that. How did he get through? Is it because he turned into a cloud of vapor? And if that is the case, then there should be invasions all the time against the Rainbow Line if it's so easy to get in. So are you trying to go ahead and say that solid objects can't get on, but air can get through? That seems to be what's going on. So, I mean, there's no real way to protect the Rainbow Line now that they know this disadvantaged security system. That they're actually able to get on without the Rainbow Pass as long as you come in as a form of smoke. So that's I want to say it's going to bite them in the ass, but the whole General Schwartz thing, where he was eavesdropping on them, that was quickly forgotten and dropped. So I wonder if this is going to be something that the writers are going to forget about, because they forgot about the own security things that they wrote into the script, so now are they going to go ahead and forget that they were able to get some guy on there? Okay, so now, when he's on there, it turns into Speed, basically. Yeah, it's Speed with Keanu Reeves and all that. So he has one bomb attached to ToQger as insurance, but he put the other bomb in the brakes. So basically, they can't stop. Okay. Well, the problem is that they're going to be going so fast that they're going to tumble over or they're going to run into something. That's the threat here. Ticket even says that they are accelerating. So not only are their brakes out, but they're accelerating. Why are you accelerating? That's the first question I have. The brakes went out, and your biggest issue right now is that you're going to go too fast, cream off the sides, or run into something or any number of things. So the first thing that comes to mind is the acceleration. Why did Ticket say they're accelerating? If their brakes are out, why don't they decelerate? They just, they can't put on the brakes, but stop accelerating. Why isn't that the first thing they do? They absolutely can't stop accelerating. Again, it's Speed, basically, but nowhere in the dialogue, and you can go watch it for yourself, did the bombs say they had to maintain a certain speed. Because then they can be completely ripping off the movie. But that's not what's happening. The brakes are out. That's all he's done. He's put a bomb to ToQger. Okay? That's all that has happened. So stop accelerating. Second of all, they come into a curve, and what happens if Takai falls over and the bomb is jarred in any way, then the bomb will blow up and it'll kill Takati and blow up the train from the inside. Okay, I get that. But they're coming up in this sharp curve, and they actually have to secure Takati down to make sure he doesn't fall. Question: why don't you just take the rainbow line up into the air? Take it off the tracks and up into the air. You've done this before, and they do it at the end of the episode. They actually raise off the tracks and go into the air. That, to me, would solve your problem right there, other than the accelerating. So not only would you... first you would not accelerate, stop your acceleration. 2, get off the tracks and go up into the air. And then you can just go infinitely around Japan, around the world, whatever stuff, until either A, you've neutralized the threat, B, your momentum and inertia stop you, or 3, you run out of fuel and you can no longer run on the rails. Now, probably, if they run out of fuel, they might fall off, but again, we still don't know what the power source is to any of this stuff yet, except possibly diesel fuel. So they don't try any of these things or bring it up. They just need to... They're doing it like, again, they have a speed limit or they can't get off the track, like it's an actual train. That's the problem. That's the difference. It's not an actual train. It's a science fiction train, which has a different power source, has the ability to fly, and is more technologically advanced. And along with that, the bomb says, you have to catch me and press the L button to deactivate it. And he somehow gets through all the trains past these guys. Well, as soon as they found out what was going on, why didn't Tick and the conductor put the train on lockdown? I'm sure there is some button somewhere that they can just press to lock all the doors. Because it's a science fiction train, isn't it? It has force fields on the outside preventing things from getting in. And you have doors on the inside. Shouldn't you be able to use those to prevent them from getting anywhere else in the train? Again, I don't understand what the conflict was here. There were so many easy ways to avert it, but no, they got to run around the train trying to smash a damn thing with hammers, tie Takati in pink robes just to embarrass him even further in this episode, and they don't do what the logical course of action would be. They actually have to trick the bomb, or as Janeway would say, outsmart a smart bomb. Not that it was that smart to begin with, or they're that smart. They have to trick him in order to deactivate it. And actually, what's even funnier is that at the end, what happens is that Wright comes with the diesel O and has to connect to the back of the rainbow line and stop it, pull it. That's his plan, basically, to stop the train that way. Which is actually kind of interesting. I mean, that's what you would do with a real train. Also, remember, this is a science fiction show, so I would accept something a little bit more high-tech, but low-tech solutions, they work fine as well. But he does it just in the nick of time because the rainbow line is about to crash into a power plant. Question: why is it about to crash into a power plant? Because there are a couple of things here. One, if this is a real train line, then that means that there is a train that comes directly to a power plant and stops. Doesn't go through and like to pick up supplies and materials and transport personnel. Goes right to one of the little towers, the silos where the fuel is, and that's where the line stops. 2, if this is the rainbow line, which means it's an artificial construct that they are projecting in front of them, which could be the case, then why does it project out this way? Can't they change their course when doing this? So it must be an established line. But again, why does the line end right there but when you're about to crash into something? That seems a little counterproductive. I don't think anybody would ever design it to end at a fuel tank or anything of factory storage or anything like that. So that in itself is stupid because in either scenario, whether they made it or was previously established, somebody wasn't thinking. What are some other issues that we have going on right here? I mean, I'm sorry. This is just, again, no security, they're not flying. Yeah, I'm not getting it. I really don't. I'm not understanding what exactly is going on right here. They're trying to put our heroes into a situation where they have, okay, I imagine what they want to do is they wanted to do something like speed, but they didn't put all the different variables in there. They only said 2 things that were the problem. 1, you have a bomb on your hero's neck, and 2, your brakes are out. That's it. If this was a normal situation, they would have done what I said. Stop accelerating or gone up into the air. Or heck, you could have split the train off, the car that they were in, and let that just coast, basically, while you go ahead and deal with the main engine. Why didn't they separate the cars? Or are you trying to tell me that everything you're doing is taking place in the red Ressha? Because I find that odd that you would only exist in this kind of one space right here, and that there's no way to even detach that. So, just a number of issues here. I'm not going to say this was a bad episode like last week's episode. It was decent, but just has so many plot holes in it. I don't think anybody was really thinking in this episode. I mean, it was good action scenes in there. Didn't seem boring or monotonous at any real point other than talking to the children. That seemed to drag a little bit. And I think we wasted too much time there as opposed to, oh, I don't know, explaining the diesel, explaining the situation and what the big problem is. So, I think the episode's okay. Nothing really bad with it. Next week we're going to figure out what happened when the generals had made this whole bomb thing a distraction, so he can open up another shadow line so he can go ahead and bring the Emperor. And then by next episode we're going to find out what it is he done. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for listening right here. If you guys have any comments about the episode or anything that I've missed, please feel free to let me know down in the comments section. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for listening. Have a good evening, and the tavern is now closed.